Okay, hi everybody, it's Paul Cumes. Today I'm going to run through how to set up my palette, the way that I set up my palette. Before I get started on that, just want to state that there's any way to set up your palette that you feels right, so I'm just showing you how I do it. Dogma is the worst thing in art, and the same goes for palettes. So when you see a color you like or whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it. And I certainly don't set up my palette the same way every time. It depends on what kind of resources I have, what kind of paint I have, and what I'm painting. But this is a general look at how I do it. And what you start with is your palette. Also, you're going to need a palette knife. There are 100 different kinds of them. This is one that I find very useful because it does just about everything, and it's the one I love the most. I don't know what it's called, so here we go. Brands of paint. Of course, the more money you can afford to spend on a good brand is better. I have all different kinds of brands, some good stuff. I like Gamblin paint. I also like this Graham paint. Then I also have a lot of really cheap stuff that's just been lying around my studio. It's all over the place, and I try to do the best with what I got. So, moving right along, the method for my palette is going from warm to cool. I like to set it up sort of like the spectrum, and it's not always 100% true to that, so forgive me when I stray, but what it's all about is going through the spectrum from red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So let's start with the red. Red is obviously a warm color, so one of the warmest reds we have is burnt umber. It's not as warm as these ones, but we'll get to that. So I designate this area, this end of my palette, and I throw down a nice bit of burnt umber. It's a really good color for doing a preliminary drawing when you want something to be warm. And then moving right along, we have, I'm kind of running low on this stuff, but we have some burnt sienna. And just squirt a bit of burnt sienna out on there. Like that. I usually use about that much. And then when I'm done, I'll see if I can recycle it. I keep my palette in the freezer when I'm done with it, so it preserves the paint from drying. I also keep my paintbrushes in the freezer, and that's a great secret because then you only have to clean your brushes once a month, and you can just freeze them and they never dry, and it helps kind of mix the colors together too, which helps if you're into that. Okay, what I got here is quinacridone red, if I'm saying that right, and it's a really bright red. It's got a really good pink quality to it, and it mixes well with orange and yellow. I'm going to throw some of that quinacridone red there. Okay, moving right along, we've got Napthol red, which takes a long time to dry, but it's a really bright red. And I like it. It's not toxic like cadmium red, which is a toxic paint, and a few of these are not the best for you. So once again, you want to make sure you wear gloves and not get them all over yourself. This is a darker cadmium, so I could have used it before the Napthol, but that's cool. And if you had cadmium light and all that, cadmium medium, that's cool. Use them. I don't have them today, so I'm going to move over to the orange. I have a really dark orange here. Right there. It's almost a red. I've got a medium orange there. Going with that. And then a lighter orange here. Throw that down. Okay, moving right along, I've got this raw sienna, which is a real earthy sort of brown. Yellow ochre. And these can substitute for each other, but I got them both today, so we're going to use them both. I like a Naples yellow. Some people don't like this color, but I love it. It's really good for skin tones and stuff like that. Beach sand and stuff like that. Here's Hansa Yellow Dark, which is an awesome color. You can make a lot of these oranges just with this alone. So there we go. Throw some of that down there. Here's a real cheap medium yellow that I got. I'm going to throw it on there. I use a lot more when it's cheaper brand because it doesn't hold as much pigment. Then we got a light Hansa Yellow, also an awesome color. Throw that down. So we're through the yellows. I got another cheap, light yellow, real light yellow. I'm going to put that down. It's a cheap brand, so I'm putting a lot on there. as you can see there. And now I'm going to move to the green. Sometimes before I go to the green, I'll throw down some yellow ochre just to create a buffer between the yellow and the green part of the spectrum. So I throw some of the yellow ochre there. And then moving into the green, we've got this super light cadmium green, which I like. Just throw some of that down there. It's really stiff. You're going to want to get some linseed oil to help soften or loosen some of these up, I should say. Permanent green light, which is an old favorite. Emerald green, which is an awesome, very modern color. Do a lot of cool effects with emerald green. Viridian green, which is sort of more of an old school color. You could do a lot with viridian. It's got to be used appropriately though, and if you want to work tonally, it's a good color. I'm personally, I use about 50% tonalism. Sometimes I use no tonalism, so that's up to you. Now we got olive green. It's a good one for oak trees, stuff like that. Just add a little phthalo blue to it. We got phthalo green here. You want to watch out with the phthalo colors, especially with phthalo blue. Beginners sort of kind of freak out on phthalo because it has such a neat effect to it when you mix white. But you kind of want to be careful with phthalo because it gets a little bit gaudy looking. Here we have what I think is a cerulean blue. This is $60 a tube minimum, and up, so it's super expensive. I've been milking off this one for like a year now. Actually bought this in Florida. Okay, now we've got a light cobalt blue, which is similar to the other one I just threw down. Here we have a dark cobalt, awesome color. This does it all, man, from the sky to the water, whatever you need, cobalt. It's nice dark cobalt. Here's ultramarine blue, which is one of the 3 key colors. Being ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, which I forgot to put in the red, so that's like the most important red, and I forgot it, so we'll throw some of that down here. Back up, throw some alizarin crimson on the palette. Can't forget alizarin crimson, because with alizarin and ultramarine blue and phthalo green, you can make black. That's the way Monet used to do it. It's a great way to make black. I'm not saying you shouldn't use black out of the tube. That has its place too, but alizarin, phthalo green, and ultramarine blue are sort of the key colors. Moving along, now I've got the phthalo blue here. I'm going to throw it at the top there. It's not the strongest color, but anyway, this is called indanthrone blue, and it's kind of like a little bit of purple in it. Okay, and if I had some Prussian blue, I would use the Prussian blue, but I don't have any of that. It's a good like Picasso blue period kind of blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move right over into the purples. I like to put the purple down first here. So I'm just going to throw down the purple. Got that. I've got a really nice rose madder, which is kind of like a light magenta. Now we're getting light, but it's a weak color, so that's cool. Quinacridone magenta, which is a lighter magenta here. Quinacridone violet, a little bit darker. I could add more kind of violets, but you can make whatever you need from those. Then basically the mother of all pigments for me is raw umber. You can do your underpainting with raw umber and use a lot of it. I do anyway, just me. And finally we have black, which I only use once in a while, but it's always nice to have. In the night painting you don't even really want to use that much black, but sometimes it creates a good gray and stuff like that. So there's my palette. It's the Paul Cumes palette. It took me about 5 years to sort of settle in. Like I said, it could change by 10, 20 different colors. It would, it's never going to be the same. But I just wanted to share with you guys my basic philosophy of palette making, and just encourage you to go out there and start oil painting yourself.